What's happening, YouTube? Nocturnal Thoughts. Back again with another video. Hey, raise your hand if you think that Roy Jones Jr. can win in this grudge match, this exhibition match against Mike Tyson. I do. Hey, I was thinking about it just a minute ago, right? What if Roy Jones wins against Mike Tyson? Because we've seen Mike Tyson training. I for one seen Showbiz the Adult, and the way he spoke on Mike Tyson made you worry about Roy Jones being the smaller guy, stepping into the ring, even with the older Mike Tyson. I watched a video today with George Foreman. George Foreman seemed to be concerned with both of those guys' health. Coming back at that age, of course, we know George Foreman is a two-time world champion, and I think besides his grills, he's most famously known for coming back at the older age, a little bit more weight on him, and then knocking out Michael Moore. So one of the first people they ran to after the Mike Tyson Roy Jones Jr. fight was announced was Big George. And George was saying, hey man, this is not like basketball, this is not like any other sport. You don't play boxing. He said, when you get older, and he's speaking from experience, when you get older, you don't, shake off those punches the same. I have problems when my grandchildren are calling my name and I can't hear them. You know what I'm saying? He said, as all athletes, but once a boxer realizes that he will no longer fight again, that boxer dies. And they always say that athletes die twice. They retire twice in life. They retire from the sport, and then they have to retire in life. You know what I'm saying? So a fighter, a fighter, I always love this, this was from Tupac's, what was that? Me Against the World. A coward dies 1,000 deaths, a soldier dies but once. But a fighter, in a certain way, he has to understand when he knows that he fights his last fight, he'll never fight again, and he dies. That fighting spirit in him. And Mike Tyson is obviously not ready to let that go. I remember his last fight when he got defeated and he announced his final retirement. He was saying that he didn't want to embarrass the sport of boxing anymore. But he's been rejuvenated. Took a long time off, reformed his whole life around, and he's seasoned. He's a veteran now. He's in a better place in his life, and he's ready to come back to the ring and do something for a charity, and for all the retired vets in any sports. So everybody is giving a big salute to Mike Tyson. Everybody's giving a big salute to Roy Jones Jr. for making this announcement. But from most of what I hear, the feedback is concerned and worry for Roy Jones. I feel like one thing Roy Jones has going for him is that he understands and he respects that Mike Tyson not only is a brute, but he's also a brain. He realizes that Mike Tyson has a very high boxing IQ. So Roy Jones can train in a way that he will be prepared for whatever Mike Tyson brings to the table. And I think that Roy Jones knows that if he can make it through the first 3 or 4 rounds, he has a possibility of outboxing Mike Tyson. He has an age advantage. I think, correct me, Mike Tyson is either 54 or 57. Between 54 or 57. and Roy Jones is 50-51-ish. You know what I'm saying? I think Mike Tyson, we all seen his life go from extreme highs to extreme lows, weight gain, and all kinds of ups and downs in his life. But Roy Jones seems to be forever the athlete. I can't think of any point in time where I haven't seen Roy Jones out of shape. He might not have been in like peak fighting condition, but he's always been in shape. You know, besides just Father Time is undefeated. So we've seen him age, but I've seen him training and coaching and still putting on exhibition matches and sparring matches. I haven't seen him take his foot off the gas and completely retire. So I believe he'll be the sharper of the two. Mike Tyson is bringing the power, that ferociousness, and Roy Jones, to me, for the first few rounds, will be more like, you know, what is that? The Matador. You know what I'm saying? Making Mike Tyson rush in and miss punches. And once Mike Tyson age kick in, and because I don't know, I'm not showbiz. I wasn't there watching him train. I don't know. I seen the speed and the punching power and the old Mike Tyson glimpses, but I don't know if he can do that for a whole 3 rounds, for 4 or 5 rounds consecutively. I just assume that he can do that, and then he has to take a little bit longer to you know what I'm saying, be prepared to go in for another burst. So Roy Jones could be, you know, if he can take that power and weather the storm, staying on the outside, using that jab, once he starts to see Mike Tyson really slow down, he can go in there and start doing those shoe shine punches and really, you know what I'm saying, just on the scorecard, just look good and outbox Mike Tyson. And if it goes the distance for a decision, I see Roy Jones Jr. having his hands raised at the end of that fight. Am I the only one, or is everybody worried about the health of Roy Jones Jr.? But it's good, to me it's good to see those guys come back. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna keep it short, simple, and neat. I appreciate y'all time. Y'all holler back, let me know what y'all think. Nocturnal Thoughts, I salute. Peace out.